Centennial Junior High Safety Productions presents Portable Router. Safety and operations for the portable router. First, we're going to take a look at basic parts of the router. Next, we need to consider bit selection. Charts in the Wood Lab will help you with this selection. First, let's take a look at piloted bits that are used for edging. Three main parts of the router bit are the shank, the pilot or the bearing, and the cutter head. Next are the straight bits for joinery and different kinds of freehand carving. Next, we'll install a bit into the router to make a basic cut. In the video, I show removing the sub-base from the motor for ease of viewing. This is not a necessary step when you're installing a bit in the router in the shop. Select your bit and install it in the collet. Make sure that there's only about 1/16 of an inch of the shank exposed. Then use 2 wrenches to tighten it firmly, but do not over tighten it. Always make sure that the bit is set down into the sub base. You should never be able to see underneath the bit when it's set in correctly. Tighten the thumb screw firmly before beginning your cut. Make sure the power cord is plugged in. Turn on the toggle switch. Make sure that you use the trigger switch during operation. Next, you're going to plug the main cord into the power supply and you're ready for your first cut. Now let's talk about making a decorative edge cut on a board. Material's edge must be smooth and straight. Material must always be clamped down to the table. Variety of different ways explained in the video and the shop demonstration on how to do this. When you're making a cut with a bearing bit, the material edge must always hang over the edge of the table so there's room for the bearing to run along the edge of the board. The bearing must run along the edge of the material. If you get a rough cut, that's probably your problem. You're not keeping the bearing pushed up against the wood. Sub base must always rest flat against the surface of the material as well. When you're making a cut, you always move the router left to right. Next, let's discuss making a groove cut. That's a rabbet cut or a dado cut in a board. You're going to select a straight shank bit with no bearing. Make sure you set the depth of cut never thicker than half the thickness of the material. Make sure your material is clamped down with a straight edge in place. Take those measurements to get the groove set the right distance. Set the router up. Keep the sub base firmly against your straight edge and the sub base flat against the material, and move slowly left to right just like in a cut with a bearing. Another neat thing about the portable router is you can make freehand cuts. You can carve names, initials, designs into your project board. This procedure takes quite a bit of practice, so don't get frustrated. Just keep trying and you'll get it down. Remember, at the end of the day, or at the end of your operation, you always need to put everything back in its proper place. The bits always come out of the routers and go back into the proper box or the proper rack. Return all routers just as you found them. Always make sure that you wrap the cords securely around the router before you install them back into the cabinet. Make sure everything is returned to its proper place in the shop. And always make sure that you clean up the station when you're finished with any operation.